Okay, so for this practice, we are going to focus on some standing balances and release the feet and energize the legs to prep us for standing. So I've given you bolsters, and you can also use a strap if you choose to when we get to the big leg stretches. Okay, so just to start off, we can find a comfortable position resting back. And just taking a moment just to check in to see if you are in fact comfortable, if you need to place something under the knees or under the skull. And as you settle the body, we're going to send some of our awareness to, or the awareness to the lower body, maybe starting with the pelvis. So just take a moment to notice how much of your pelvis you feel resting on the ground. And then maybe seeing if you can connect that out breath to growing the awareness of the pelvis resting, or seeing if you can feel even more of the pelvis resting each time you exhale. Maybe tapping into the heavy bones of the pelvis and letting the weight of the bones just give over to gravity and sink. And then with that same awareness of dropping, sinking, heaviness, maybe sending that to the legs. Just noticing how much of the legs do you feel resting. How heavy do the legs feel? Maybe consider the heavy bones of the legs dropping closer and closer, further and further into the ground with each exhalation. And then noticing, see if you notice the more you allow the weight of the legs to fall, do you gain a sense of the musculature or the tissues around the leg bones starting to soften? So maybe the thighs start to soften, the knees, the shins. And then maybe continuing to send that awareness into the heels. See if you can feel or sense the heels resting. Feel the weight of the heels sinking. And the more you give the heels over to the ground, over to gravity, Can you gain a sense of the front of the ankles and the top of the feet, or the soles of the feet starting to soften and let go? And then maybe with one or two washes of an out breath, you can start from the pelvis, and as you exhale, letting that pelvis drop and sink, and then sending that out breath down the legs all the way to the feet. Good. And then at some point, we can shift our awareness to the upper body and practice the same principles here. We can start with feeling for or sensing that upper body, upper back, resting, sinking. Maybe in the upper body as you exhale and drop the upper back into the ground, maybe there's a sense of broadening, spreading that awareness, spreading that exhalation, throughout the whole upper back, into the arms. Including the skull. Good. And then maybe eventually, on your own time, invite the awareness of the breathing to the belly, or invite the breath awareness into the belly. And noticing or becoming aware of movement or breath movement in the abdomen is such a great way to tap into the letting go, the grounding. So as you inhale, the belly rises and expands. And then as we exhale, noticing how the abdomen starts to relax and soften towards the spine, and offers that extra bit of dropping and releasing the weight of the body into the ground. So each time we exhale, we are releasing a little more tension each time. And then there's also the element of lengthening the spine, or the spine lengthening as we exhale. And so there's a little practice here that I enjoy doing, and I'll introduce it and invite you to try it out. And of course, you can take it or leave it. So maybe starting with placing the hands on the belly, maybe one hand above the belly button and one below. Good. And this area of the body, I just find it so useful in kind of noticing that divide where we can split the awareness to encourage the lengthening. So maybe on an out breath, as the belly starts to lower towards the spine, with that bottom hand, you can gently, just ever so slightly, slide that bottom hand towards the lower half of the body towards the legs. It's very subtle. And it's just a way to encourage the awareness of the breath moving downwards. Yeah. And then maybe we can try it with the upper half. So maybe with the next few breath cycles, as you exhale, allow the belly to drop, and then slide, just gently slide the upper arm upward. Again, it's very subtle, just a way to encourage the breath and awareness upwards. And then at some point, if you'd like to try doing that simultaneously, is by breathing into the hands as you exhale and let the belly fall, let the weight of the hands fall with the belly, and then essentially you're splitting the breath. So you're sending the breath down and up. Yeah. So again, you can experiment with splitting the breath at the same time, or working with one half first and then the other. So be with this for as long as you'd like, and then if you'd like to add some movement of any kind on your own time, you can. Yeah, that's it. And whatever way you choose to move, maybe consider this idea of the splitting the breath, the splitting of the breath. So we still want to look for, as we exhale, that sense of dropping, sinking, grounding. Yeah, and then can we split the breath immediately after that dropping? Good. Nice. Yeah, and what does that do when you split the breath? Do you notice a bit of a lengthening in the back of the neck, the back of the skull? Mm-hmm. Good. And then we're going to eventually come to bridge, and we're going to work with bridge with 2 feet, and then the version of bridge, of half bridge. So working with bridge is such a great way to prepare us for standing, and to really practice the sense of the whole footprint on the ground without loading the feet with the entire weight of the body. Yeah, so it's such a great way to establish our foundation here, our grounding in the feet, and also that lengthening piece, which is very important in standing postures as well. So as you come to bridge prep, maybe take a moment to feel the feet resting and noticing how much of the feet you can feel resting or sinking. Yeah, and then on your own time, you can begin to On that out breath, press the feet into the ground and take your version of bridge. And continuing to check in with the feet, the footprint, as you roll up and down. And then there's also maybe that piece where you include that split breath. So maybe as you arrive to whatever your top is, maybe taking a breath here. And yeah, that's it. Before you lower, or as you lower, splitting that breath. And again, does that offer just a little extra space and lengthening in the spine? Yeah, this can be done rolling up and rolling down. And then also if you want to take the version of half bridge. So I'll let you move between the two. And so yeah, exactly, Sue. Half bridge is one leg long in Shavasana and the other leg is bent in bridge. And that long leg side is heavy and passive. I want to establish my footprint in the bridge pose leg. That's it. And as I exhale, pressing into that foot and rolling towards the long leg side. Good. So again, the two pieces of finding that footprint is very important in when we come to standing. So this is a nice place to start. And then also the lengthening in the spine. So we can use that formula maybe of as each time I exhale, I let go, I ground, I lengthen. Yeah. And then as you move between half bridge and bridge with 2 feet, just noticing the sensations in the spine. I find these two movements are such a great marker or a great posture movement to come back to check in for change. Good. Nice. Good. And then again, continue with this as long as you'd like. And we're going to start to now wake up the feet, wake up the legs, really get them sparkly and alive. And what I love to do for these next few movements is, again, you can choose to use the bolster or not, but it might be useful just to allow the legs to fall a little closer towards you so the upper body can relax. So you can place the bolster under the pelvis if you choose. And here's a fun little factoid about the feet, is that there's 7,000 nerve endings in the feet. I always find that so fascinating. So from here, what we can do is start to run the feet. If you want to start bringing some more blood flow and energy into the soles of the feet, you can run them a little wider, narrow. Maybe one runs forward, one runs back. That's it. Yeah. You can also rub one foot on top of the other. Yeah, or that's it, or you can do a little kind of tapping or slapping. Yeah. And there's also the heel is such a great useful tool here in massaging the back of the calf, which we rarely get into. Yeah. And then here's where the bolster becomes useful. You can draw the legs towards you. And if you want, you can take keyhole or thread the needle legs and start massaging the feet. Yeah. Yeah, get right under the balls of the feet, the arches, the heel. A great one is the Achilles, so just behind the foot. And then even the top of the feet between the metatarsals. Yeah. And then if you don't mind getting into the into the toes, you can place the fingers between each toe, kind of interlacing your fingers with the toes and circle. Oh yeah, there's my big toe cracking. Good. Good, and you can flex and point the toes. Yeah, good. And of course you can switch sides on your own time. There's also, you can kind of fist your hands and even thump the soles of the feet, top of the feet. Good. Yeah, it's really nice to kind of get into the feet and soften the tissues around the foot bones so that when we come to standing, we have maybe a more sturdy, stable foundation, a deeper sense of grounding in the foot. Good. And then maybe shaking out the legs at some point. And then we can maybe draw one leg bent in towards the abdomen. That's it. And then the other leg can either rest long on the ground, or you can bend the knee and place the sole of the foot on the ground. And then from here we can continue to work with the feet, get into the hips and the legs. So you can flex and point the foot. Maybe circling the ankle. Good. Maybe you can add some circling in the hip. Yeah. That's it. And then whatever leg is your bottom leg, you can choose to, if you want, you can choose to keep it long. But maybe to start off, bend that knee and place the sole of the foot on the ground. And then the leg that's drawn in, extending it towards the ceiling. And again, we can flex, point, circle the foot. We can start to wake up of the legs a little bit just by thumping the thighs. Good. So these are nice little ways to just start to get the blood moving in the legs, in the feet. And then we'll work with the big leg stretches here if you choose. So you can either keep the bottom leg bent with the sole of the foot on the ground, or you can extend both legs. So here you might want to use a strap, you might not. So yeah, it's just beside you, yeah. Good. And as you work through your leg stretches in whatever way you choose to, maybe consider adding in the split breath and see what happens when you send the breath down the bottom leg and then up towards the skull. What does that do to the leg that's elevated? Does it do anything? Does it offer any type of release, lightness? And of course, you can play with the leg, moving out to its own side and across the body. Good. And again, can I go back to adding in exhaling, letting the weight of the pelvis and the body, the entire body, falling and sinking towards the ground, and splitting the breath in two directions. Or if you want to focus on one first, then the other. Yeah. And if I think of the lengthening happening from the skull to the bottom leg, so it splits from the belly up to the skull and down to the bottom leg. Again, what does that do for the leg that's up towards the ceiling? And of course, you can switch sides on your own time. If you want to be between sides, just take the legs up to the ceiling and give them a good little shake. Yeah, and then you can start with, that's it. And yeah, you can massage the leg. You can draw one leg in, circle the ankle, flex and point the foot. I just find it so useful to, when I do these leg stretches or when I start to focus on extending the legs in some way, that starting with the feet, just for some reason it really offers a little more softness, and the sensation in the legs isn't as strong. It is off the top, but the more I work my feet, it's like it translates and transfers into the rest of the legs, specifically the hamstrings, where it can be really tight. So just see if that offers you a similar experience. If not, that's okay. Good. Yeah. Yeah, don't be afraid to exaggerate that exhalation. Yeah. And really give over to that out breath. Yeah. Good. And again, what happens if I invite the splitting of the breath? Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. And I'll just offer this up at any point. Of course, continue to move at your own pace, and if you want to continue to switch sides. But something to incorporate every now and then as a counter pose could be little boat or a twist. Specifically, the twist I'm thinking about in this moment, and it can be any twist that feels right for you, but is the windshield wiper legs twist. Yeah, so if you place the soles of the feet on the ground and walk the feet slightly wider maybe than your mat, and then letting them fall to one side and then the other. And I find that this twist is a great way to continue to find the feet and feel the feet. So if you choose to let the legs fall to one side and rest there for a moment and just notice the outer edge of the foot on one side and then the inner edge of the foot on the other. And then you can take a few breaths just allowing the edges of the feet to sink. And then another option could be, and just check in with the knee and make sure that there's no discomfort, but maybe as you exhale, maybe there's a gentle pressing of these edges of the feet. See what does that do. Sometimes that offers, again, a little extra lengthening in the spine, the pelvis lengthening away from the skull. If you want to try the split breath in this position. Yeah. Good. And then maybe it might be of interest to you to that's it. You can extend both legs up towards the ceiling and give them a shake, or even to check back in with either bridge with 2 feet or bridge with the 1 foot, and just see if anything feels different. Does your experience feel differently now than when you first introduced bridge into your practice? Yeah, do you notice change? If so, what is that change? Nice. Yeah, and again, a few more counter poses you can go to at any point is a little boat, maybe rocking side to side, or again, a twist of your choice. So if you wanted to take a deeper twist, that's it. So you can go to the little boat twist, yeah, extend that top leg. And just take a moment to ask yourself what you need to finish off your practice resting back in this moment. And then at some point we will come onto our hands and knees, but of course take your time. Good. Nice. So as you come onto your hands and knees, maybe just taking a few moments to move the spine around in some way. And we're going to continue to release a little more into the feet. So some of the movements here might get a little intense. So of course, you make the choice whether or how far you want to go. Take the breaks as you need to. So even as you're moving the spine around, what would it feel like, or how differently does it feel when you rest the top of the feet on the ground or when you curl the toes under? Yeah, that's it, Eden. So you can shift the weight of the pelvis towards the feet or the heels, on and off, starting to introduce a little stretching at the back of the toes. Nice. There's also, if you flip the feet or the toes so that the top of the feet are back on the ground, there's, much like we did resting back, running, a gentle running of the feet. Yeah, how does that feel? Again, with that running, you can run kind of wider or narrower. That's it. You can extend one leg behind you and roll along the ball of the foot in that way. Yeah. Yeah, nice. That's it. Yeah, you can point that foot as it's extended. The leg is extended behind you. You can point the foot. That's it. And roll along the top of the foot. Be sure to find, if you're rolling along the top of the foot, maybe just check in to see if you're rotating that leg from the hip joint rather than just the lower leg and the top of the foot. Yeah, to protect the knee. And of course, switch sides at your own time. And something I'll offer up here too, as you need to take breaks, whatever you need to take the breaks, you can rest in child's pose, you can rest on your belly, you can come into a downward dog. If you're someone who experiences a lot of tension in the feet when you do downward dog, it might feel differently now. Maybe you feel a deeper sense of your feet settling into the ground. So whatever movement you want to take, again, your choice, yogi's choice. Good. Yeah, and you can walk the feet a little wider. Sometimes I like taking a little Michael Jackson here in downward dog. So you can kind of, a little bit of a moonwalk, you can slide the top of, or the bottom of one foot along the ground and then bending in the other foot. Yeah, and just doing a little bit of this, just a little soft moonwalk here to work through the feet.
Yeah, and you can do that walking the legs out to the side. Of course, come in and out of your downward dog as you need to. Good. Yeah, and then maybe next time you rest or lower the knees back onto the ground, yeah, take your child's pose if you need to. Actually, this is a great way to release and lengthen the front of the ankles. And as you rest in child's pose, if this is where you want to hang out for a few more breaths, maybe introduce that split breath, and what does it offer you in this position? Does it allow your pelvis to fall a little more towards your heels? Does it allow the skull to fall further towards the ground? Good. Excellent. And then I'll offer up a few more ways to work with the feet, if you choose. Again, take your time. I'll let you choose which version you want to do, if you want to move in and out of the different variations. So one could be, I curl the toes under and walk the pelvis towards the heels. Again, you decide how much of this you want to do. If you want to place the bolster in front of you, if you need a little support under your hands. And then just kind of shifting the weight on and off the heels, or you can walk the hands, yeah, exactly, up the thighs and rest or sit the pelvis right on the heels. Yeah. So if you've been going for a lot of walks, this might be intense. It's a good reminder to pay some attention to the feet. If we've been walking a lot, yeah. So again, hang out there only as long as it feels comfortable. I mean, quote unquote comfortable. It might not be comfortable at all. If you can manage to sit there for a few breaths, you can try the split breathing here. So that's something you can try. And then the other one is the same idea, but flipping the top of the feet on the ground and sitting, if you can, on your heels. If not, what's useful is placing a bolster between the knees. And you can sit on the bolster. And this is actually a nice position to use your knuckles to kind of get into the soles of the feet. Yeah. That's it. Good. Excellent. And then, of course, at any point you can come to one of your counter poses, whether it's resting on the belly, downward dog. A lovely one when you're resting on your belly is bending the knees and just rocking the legs side to side. Good. That's it. Yeah.
And then we're going to slowly start to, again on your own time, when you're ready, we're going to slowly start to build to our standing postures. So to start off, whenever you're ready, we can come onto our hands and knees and then place kind of like that on your marks position. So placing one foot in front of you, yeah. And then the back leg, the toes are curled under, that's it. And so here you can place both hands on the ground, awesome. Or you can use a bolster for added support to elevate the hands a little bit more. And then here, again, we really want to pay attention to the grounding in the feet. And then as you exhale, pressing into both feet and starting to extend the legs. If you want to keep the front knee bent a little, that's okay. So the knees are always soft. And then you can kind of come in and out of that a few times. Yeah, exhaling, pouring that out breath down from the pelvis, legs to feet. If you want to add the split breath as you come up. Good. That's it. And then if you choose, when you come to your triangle forward bend here, you can gently start to shift your weight towards the front foot and maybe peel the back heel. Just on and off a few times, shifting your weight. Peeling that back heel. Again, keeping that front knee bent if both legs, or if that front leg feels a little much if it's extended. Good. Good. And then maybe if you want to give it a try, as you inhale, shifting your weight onto that front foot. And as you exhale, again, maybe introduce or invite the split breath, pouring down this supporting leg and then up the spine to the skull. And then can you allow that back leg to float? Yeah. That's it. You can try that a few times on the one side, of course. Switch sides on your own time, maybe taking cobra or that counter pose on your belly, rocking the legs. So again, take your time. Yeah, looking for the length. Good. So grounding through that front foot, establish your foundation. Yeah. That's it, good. So yeah, if you're working with the other side now, that front foot is slightly forward, sitting on the heel of the back foot with the toes curled under. Yeah, and then as you exhale, pressing into the front foot and the toes of the back leg or back foot, and then begin to extend the legs. Moving up and down at your own pace. Focusing on your footprint. And then you can eventually start to shift a little bit forward onto that front leg or front foot, peeling the back heel. on and off. And then if I really encourage that out breath to pour down the supported leg into the foot, spreading the foot, planting the foot, and then let that back leg float off. So finding as much ease as possible. Good. Great. Nice. And then, of course, take the counter poses as you need them. I'll introduce a few other ways we can take this. So if the idea of coming from the ground is a lot, you can always come to the wall and place one foot in front of you or in front and one foot behind, so you're creating warrior one. And then here I can do the same thing. I can shift a little bit forward on that front leg, peeling that back heel. And then eventually shifting completely over, placing the hands on the wall, and then letting that leg float off, yeah? So if you want to try, you can try that at the wall. So essentially now we're working, that's turning more into the warrior three. So this was triangle forward bend. As we come to standing and use the wall, we're moving more towards warrior three. And no, yeah. Yeah, if you are trying warrior three without the wall, a fun little exercise you can try here. Of course, move in and out in whatever way you choose. But if you want to try that idea of peeling, so if I peel that back heel, and as I exhale, I can split the breath. So I'm finding that lengthening before I start to come over into the balance. So then here I inhale, come on the leg, shifting forward, maybe taking the arms in front of you and down. And then as you exhale and split and drop that breath down that leg and float the upper leg. Yeah. So if you choose, you can go in and out. Inhale, lower. Exhale, ground, lengthen, float. Or as you did before, you can take the arms in front of you. So this just gives you an opportunity to really take your time to really get into that front foot and establish the footprint. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, that version of peeling the heel and then lowering the heel encourages, that back heel encourages the dropping of the pelvis so that I can lengthen the skull upward. So it encourages the lengthening. Mm-hmm. That's it, so yeah, and if you inhale, come onto the foot. Exhale, plant the foot. Yeah. And breathe into that foot. Yeah, nice. So always check in. Am I breathing as I start to come on to one foot and float the other foot off? Yeah, exactly. That's such a great way to test the balance. It's because, you're like, I have the wall there. in case I need it. But I'm also far enough away that I can test. See, I relax the toes, fine, good. Yeah, so a lovely thing to check in with as we move into the Warrior 3 in this kind of mindful, incremental way. It just gives us an opportunity to check and see if I'm doing that. If I'm doing that and then I go for the balance, right? So I want to first see if can I relax my toes? Can I let the feet spread and soften? Think of all that lovely massaging you were offering. That's it. And then exhale, let it soften. Good. Great. And then if you want to take this a little further into the half moon, maybe before we do that, a nice little counter pose could be taking the legs a little bit wider. You can roll forward, bending the knees and resting the elbows on the thighs just above the knee. Or if it's accessible, you can come into a squat. Yeah. Just allowing the weight of that pelvis to drop, the weight of the skull to drop. Good. And if you enjoy the squatting and you just want to relax into it a little more, you can also do that leaning against the wall if you want. You might need to play with, the distance of the heels. Good. Okay. So I'll start to introduce half moon. So know that if you don't want to do that or practice that movement or balance, go back to Warrior 3 and keep continuing to play with that. But a few ways we can take half moon at the wall. So I'll give you 2 versions at the wall, and then you can take them in the center as well. So we can come to the wall where the leg, the front leg, the supported leg is the leg closest to the wall. That's it. And then same thing, I'm going to find my Warrior 3 here, and I can use the wall for support. I can use that arm closest to the wall, And then I can walk or lower my body towards the ground, walking the hands towards the ground. And I can place the hand that's closest to the wall on the ground. If you want to place both hands on the ground, you can. Again, this is a great opportunity to use a bolster if you'd like to elevate the ground to support the hands. And then from here, same thing, exhale, find your feet, pour that breath and energy down the leg into the whole footprint. And then you can start to open out, turning the torso, the pelvis towards that elevated leg, towards the ceiling. So there's a way, that way you can come from standing. There's also the way we did from the ground going into forward bend, triangle forward bend. So I can come into my on your marks, get set, go position. So coming on to the front foot here and curling the toes of the back foot. Exhale, come into my forward triangle here, forward triangle, forward bend, shifting onto that front foot, elevate or float that back leg off, and then same thing, opening, turning the torso and pelvis. And if you'd like, you can do that in the center, whether you choose to go from the ground or from standing. Good. So checking in with maybe that split breath. Does that offer more grounding in the foot, a lengthening of the skull so that that foot and leg that comes off the ground floats so that it's effortless. Again, a lovely place to exaggerate the exhalation. It reminds us to breathe as we come on to one leg, one hand. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, switch sides whenever it feels right. That's it. Pour that energy into the supporting leg, all the way to the foot. Even though we're really focusing on deep grounding in the areas that are touching down and supporting us, we also want to maybe sense that we're flying and floating. And the ease of that, the effortlessness of that. Good. That's it. Good, Sue. Yeah, and also something I wanted to mention, that arm that's being extended up towards the ceiling can also be down by the side of that leg. Yeah. So you can kind of play with the arm there. Yeah. Excellent. So, yeah, finishing off whatever side you're on. Maybe when you're ready, you can come onto both feet. If you want to try another one, go ahead. Yeah. Good. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Good. Nice. Good job, ladies. It's amazing. So yeah, maybe take a moment if you want to come to standing. Take a gentle bending of the knees. Yeah, if you want to maybe circle in the shoulders a little bit. That's it. And maybe forward. Yeah, you can definitely add some neck stretching, circling of the head. And then take a few breaths just standing in silence, just taking a moment to notice any sensations. Maybe notice your breath. Good. And then eventually you can start to roll down or come back to the ground. And if you want to go back to check in with bridge, half bridge, if you want to take a twist. So whatever your body is needing or craving in this moment. And if you are going back to any version of bridge, how does it feel differently now? So again, take the time you need to just offer your body what it wants in this moment in terms of movement. And you can take your final relaxation whenever you're ready. So again, it doesn't have to be in this moment. And what I suggest is maybe finishing off with legs up the wall might be a nice way to rest or rejuvenate the legs. Mm-hmm. And as you continue to settle into your relaxation here, maybe check back in with or ask yourself again, how much of my pelvis do I feel resting now? How much of my upper back do I feel resting? If your legs are extended on the ground, how much of my legs do I feel resting?